Hey guys, Robert and Ingrid here, continuing our Kong-Trospective with Son of Kong. One
The
of the,
first sequel bait in cinematic history.
yeah, I mean, were there other sequels? I don't think there ever really were of this caliber anyway, where they rushed it out and everything, which back then, I don't blame them. I do not blame the executives because they never experienced something like Kong before. Kong was, I
Yeah, and
don't think,
so they were trying to strike the market while it was
they didn't
hot. But
know. They didn't know.
yep.
They never had experience with it. They probably would have thought, oh, it's going to fade fast. Nowadays, we know, no, people will wait a little bit more. But back then, and they were probably right, though. Back then, they probably would have faded out if they didn't rush it out. And
But
so
it's just
much,
like, wow, this was happening like a couple, several decades before I was even alive. It's not as modern of a phenomenon as we think.
exactly. But basically, we're focusing on Denham. Denham's on the run for good reason. And he
Mhm.
decides, I'm going back to Skull Island. Now, one thing I like about this movie is they want to make sure there's no more sequels after this. Because it turns out
Mhm.
the island is sinking. But before we get
Mhm.
to that, we get some weird deviations. Like he finds this girl at a circus where you have this dog show. I have to wonder, did someone say I like we because obviously the effects were backloaded, not front
Mhm.
loaded, backloaded. Wouldn't you agree?
Something like
To
that.
make up
Yeah.
because they knew they didn't have much time. It's like, okay, save it for the end. Let's do all this other stuff. What can we do to fill it in? I got some performing dogs. Great, throw it in.
Yeah, I
They
could
didn't feel like
see the
so much was
conversation
just
going
thrown
like that.
in. So much was just thrown in. They didn't know what they were doing. But again, at least we had Denim. Would you agree? This
Yeah.
probably made Denim. This was the best handling of Denim in anything.
Yeah, I
'Cause
can
he's the
agree with
hero.
that
Because
one.
he, he's the hero, and the actor brought in so much with what he had to work with. But basically, it's even simpler than that. It takes us forever to get there, but eventually they get to the island. They find out sinking. They find Kong Son. He saves them and then dies.
Mm,
Like I say, when they get back to the island, the effects still hold up.
mhm.
Would you agree with that? Especially Kong Son, even though it's like, where the hell did he come from? Who cares? But I did feel bad for his death.
Yeah, because it's just like in this version, he sort of realized, hey, I screwed up. I'm going to try to make up for it by making it up to Kong's kid.
Exactly. But then nothing much he could do. Failed
Mhm.
again.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, there's so much in here you could definitely tell is the prototype for so many sequels going forward. They didn't have this notion of we gotta make it bigger, better. I give them props for that. They knew they could have.
They
Now when they had a
decided to go for where would the story logically go next, and I figured a
which I think
failed
more people
businessman
would
who
do that.
caused a disaster. Well, I'm going to go to one place in the world that I know basically no one else will go to, that I know how to go
Back to the
to. It
island.
makes logical sense, but yeah.
But it feels like now I wish more people would do that. As opposed to bigger, better. It's like, what's the logical story to do next? And I do give them props for that one at least. It just felt
Yeah,
so boring.
yeah, it's just like it was a neat idea, but it's like, yeah, it was kind of just not so much bad as it just mediocre.
Mediocre, yes, but we'll go through a lot worse as we go forward. We're not done yet, though. I just want to say that. But again, what did you think about Kong's son?
Pretty cute, actually.
Yeah, but his death was sad, wasn't it? It was just like, oh.
Yeah, it's just.
And the island sinking, like I said, that was clear so they can make sure let's not get stuck again.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it gives a ticking clock and everything, but it just felt so. This whole movie felt pointless.
Hmm.
Like there was no point by the end. Denham is still on the run. He just now has a love interest.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he found Kong's son, but failed. It's like, what's the point? He's still back at square one, just now with someone on the love. He still has to head back because he can't be at the island sinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, again, looking at this as the prototype for sequels go in the future. I think this is probably the one you could look at saying like, this is where so many rough trappings came from.
Mm-hmm.
Rushing it out, not having too much time, not knowing where to go, but you're stuck to a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
The effects. Now, the other thing I would say this Kong and Junior or Kong Sung, whichever you want to call him, I feel like there was a bit. He didn't have the same though animalisticness that his father did.
Yeah.
He had a bit more of the like. There's some again probably because they didn't have much time. He still
Mhm.
had a bit of. He had a bit more of a no, smartness to him or brain in his head. A little,
Mhm.
which you would think is weird because his father wasn't like that.
Mhm. But you don't really have time to get that proper world building done when you've got a deadline on your hands. So it's just,
Exactly. And again, rushed out in less than a year.
yeah, it's like
For
insane to think about
for
compared to
what we
how big
got,
films can get nowadays.
that's not it's not bad for being rushed out. I would expect a lot worse. And this tells you that they
Mhm.
still had some standards back then, even for a rush job.
Mhm.
So but again, not much else to say about this one. This had even less of a plot than the last one.
Mhm.
So, yep. Tune in next time as we go to Japan as we take a brief top back to talking, just to talk, reminiscent about King Kong and Godzilla versus King Kong. We'll see you guys then.